The stars had always been a mystery to humanity, a glittering expanse of wonder that stretched beyond imagination. For centuries, people on Earth looked up at the night sky, dreaming of what might be out there. But dreams were no longer enough. Humanity had reached a point where it could touch the stars, or at least try. After decades of technological leaps and careful exploration, the impossible had finally happened. First contact. The Zorethians, an advanced alien species with shimmering silver skin and voices like soft chimes, had welcomed humans into the galactic community. It was a momentous occasion, one that filled Earth with both pride and anxiety. The Galactic Council, a coalition of intelligent species from across the stars, governed trade, diplomacy, and peace among countless civilizations. Now, for the first time, humanity had been invited to join them as equals, or so they hoped. Emily Carter, a young diplomat known for her sharp mind and calm demeanor, stood at the center of this historic event. She had been chosen to represent Earth, a responsibility that weighed heavily on her shoulders, but also filled her with determination. Accompanying Emily was Commander Ryan Hayes, a seasoned military officer whose presence symbolized Earth's cautious approach to these new alliances. Ryan wasn't just there to protect Emily. He was tasked with ensuring humanity's interests were safeguarded in every negotiation. Together, they boarded the starship Eos Asterisk, a sleek vessel built by human engineers using shared alien technology. It gleamed under the sunlight as it prepared to leave Earth's orbit, carrying its crew toward the unknown. As the ship launched, Emily stared out of the viewport, watching Earth shrink into a blue dot against the endless blackness of space. Her heart raced with excitement, but a flicker of doubt lingered in her mind. What if humanity wasn't ready? What if the other species saw them as weak or insignificant? She shook off the thought, reminding herself why she was here, to prove that Earth deserved a place among the stars. The journey to the Galactic Council headquarters took several days, giving Emily and Ryan time to prepare. They reviewed files on the council members, studying their cultures, languages, and histories. The Valens communicated through holographic projections, their forms shifting like liquid light. The Krith were insectoid creatures with clicking mandibles and multifaceted eyes. Then there were the Coraxians, towering beings clad in heavy armor, their reputation as warriors preceding them. Each species was unique, yet all shared one thing in common: power. And now, humanity had to stand alongside them. When the Eos Asterisk finally arrived at the Council's orbital station, Emily felt a mix of awe and intimidation. The station loomed above them, a massive structure orbiting a dying star. Its surface glowed faintly, illuminated by the dim red light of the collapsing sun. As they docked, Emily straightened her suit and took a deep breath. This was it, the moment Earth stepped onto the galactic stage. Stepping off the ship, Emily and Ryan were greeted by representatives from various species. Some offered polite nods, while others whispered amongst themselves. Emily caught snippets of conversation, her ears picking up words like primitive and untested. It stung, but she reminded herself not to let it show. Humanity had earned its place here, and she would make sure everyone knew it. As they made their way to the council chamber, Emily couldn't help but feel the weight of billions of lives resting on her words. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and dangers alike. But for now, her focus was clear: survive this meeting, earn respect, and secure humanity's future among the stars. Little did she know, the challenges ahead would test her resolve in ways she could never have imagined. The council chamber was unlike anything Emily Carter had ever seen. It was a vast, circular room with walls that shimmered like liquid metal, reflecting the light of countless alien species gathered within. Each delegate sat on floating platforms arranged in a spiral pattern, creating an atmosphere both awe-inspiring and overwhelming. The air buzzed with soft chimes, clicks, and hums as delegates communicated in their native languages, some using translators to bridge the gaps between them. Emily stood at the base of the spiral, her heart pounding as all eyes turned toward her. She felt small under the weight of so many unfamiliar gazes. Some aliens seemed curious, tilting their heads or adjusting glowing appendages to get a better look. Others appeared disinterested, their expressions unreadable behind masks or exoskeletons. Still, there were those who watched her with open suspicion, especially the Coraxians, whose towering forms loomed over everyone else. Commander Ryan Hayes stood nearby, his posture rigid and alert. He scanned the room, his sharp eyes noting every detail. Though he didn't speak, his presence was reassuring. Emily drew strength from it, reminding herself that she wasn't alone. Together, they represented Earth, and failure was not an option. The session began with formal introductions. A Valan ambassador named Lurka, whose translucent form shifted like flowing water, welcomed Emily and Ryan to the council. "We are honored by humanity's presence," Lurka said through a translator device. Its voice was smooth but carried a hint of caution. "Your arrival marks a new chapter for our coalition." Emily nodded respectfully, stepping forward to address the assembly. Her voice was steady, though inside, she felt anything but calm. "Thank you for welcoming us," she began. "Earth is eager to learn from your wisdom and contribute to the peace and prosperity of this coalition." Her words earned polite nods from some delegates, while others exchanged skeptical glances. As the meeting progressed, tensions began to rise. Representatives from different species took turns speaking, discussing recent events that threatened the stability of the galaxy. There had been reports of attacks on border colonies, entire settlements wiped out without warning. No one knew who was responsible, but accusations flew freely. One Krith delegate clicked angrily, pointing its antennae at a group of smaller, bird-like aliens called the Aven. "Their kind cannot be trusted," it hissed. Emily listened carefully, piecing together fragments of information. What troubled her most was the growing sense of hostility toward humanity. Whispers rippled through the chamber, labeling Earthlings as reckless newcomers who might disrupt the delicate balance of galactic politics. Some even suggested that humanity's rapid technological advancements posed a threat. Emily clenched her fists supplely, determined not to let these insults rattle her. Then came a moment that sent a chill down her spine. Ambassador Lurka approached her privately after the main session ended, requesting a quiet conversation. "There is something you should know," the Valan said softly. It projected holographic images into the air, showing devastated planets and strange energy readings detected near the sites of destruction. "These attacks, they originated close to your home system." Emily stared at the data, her mind racing. How could such devastation occur near Earth without anyone noticing? Was it possible that humanity had somehow been involved, or worse, targeted? She swallowed hard, forcing herself to remain composed. "I need time to understand this," she said finally. "But I assure you, Earth will cooperate fully in uncovering the truth." Lurka nodded, its form flickering slightly. "Time may be a luxury we do not have," it warned before gliding away. Back in the main chamber, tempers continued to flare. Accusations grew louder, dividing the council further. Emily realized that navigating this political minefield would be far more challenging than she had anticipated. But as she looked around the room, she also saw glimmers of hope, small alliances forming, tentative gestures of cooperation. Humanity still had a chance to prove itself, even amidst chaos. For now, Emily resolved to stay focused. The road ahead would be difficult, but giving up was not an option. Earth's future depended on it. Emily Carter sat in a quiet corner of the council station, her mind racing as she reviewed the data Ambassador Lurka had shared. The holographic images floated above the table in front of her, showing destroyed planets and eerie energy signatures. It was hard to believe that such devastation could happen so close to Earth without anyone noticing. She felt a mix of fear and determination growing inside her. Humanity's place in the galaxy was still fragile, and these revelations threatened to shatter the trust they were trying to build. Commander Ryan Hayes joined her, his face serious as he leaned over the table. "What does this mean?" he asked, his voice low. Are we saying someone attacked Earth's neighbors, and no one saw it coming? I don't think it's that simple, Emily replied, shaking her head. Lurka said these energy readings match weapons used by multiple council members' fleets. That means whoever did this might be hiding behind false flags or covering their tracks. Ryan frowned. You're saying this could be an inside job. Someone on the council is responsible. Emily hesitated, then nodded. It's possible. Or maybe rogue factions within their own governments. Either way, it's bad news for us. If Earth gets caught in the middle of this mess, we'll look like easy targets, or worse, scapegoats. Just then, a soft chime interrupted their conversation. A Nerian historian named Kale approached them, his aquatic form shimmering faintly in the dim light. Kale's species communicated through harmonious tones that translated into calm, soothing words. I heard about your dilemma, he said gently. Perhaps I can help. Emily looked at him curiously. How? Kale gestured toward the holograms. These energy signatures are familiar to me. Decades ago, certain factions conducted secret experiments near your solar system. They were testing quantum weaponry, highly unstable and incredibly dangerous. Many opposed it, but some believed it was necessary for defense. Defense against what? Ryan asked sharply. Kale paused, his tone turning grave. Against the unknown. And sometimes, against each other. The weight of Cal's words sank in. Emily realized that humanity's rapid advancement might have triggered old fears among the Council's more powerful species. To them, Earth wasn't just a new ally. It was an unpredictable variable. What if the attacks weren't random? What if they were meant to send a message? Later that evening, Emily found herself pacing her quarters, trying to piece everything together. The evidence pointed to one unsettling conclusion. Earth had been targeted, whether intentionally or as collateral damage. Her home planet was now entangled in a web of galactic politics far beyond its control. But how could she prove it without making things worse? Her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden knock on the door. When she opened it, she found a nervous-looking human technician from the *EOS*. Ma'am, he whispered, glancing around nervously, we intercepted something you need to see. He handed her a small data chip, explaining that it contained classified information leaked by a rogue faction within the Council's security forces. Emily thanked him quickly, her pulse quickening. Once alone, she inserted the chip into her console. The screen lit up with files detailing covert operations near Earth's borders. Some factions feared humanity's rise and wanted to weaken Earth before it became too powerful. The attacks were supposed to serve as warnings, but instead, they spiraled out of control, causing destruction far beyond what anyone intended. Emily stared at the screen, her hands trembling slightly. This was bigger than she'd imagined. The Council wasn't just divided. It was fractured by mistrust and hidden agendas. And now, humanity stood at the center of it all. She knew what she had to do next. Tomorrow, she would confront the Council, not as a frightened newcomer, but as a representative of Earth demanding answers. Failure wasn't an option. The Council chamber was tense the next day, the air thick with unspoken accusations and simmering anger. Emily Carter stood at the center of it all, her heart pounding but her expression calm. She had spent the night preparing for this moment, rehearsing her words carefully. Humanity's future depended on what she said now, and how she said it. As the session began, delegates from various species took turns speaking, their voices rising in frustration. The Coraxian ambassador, a towering figure clad in heavy armor, slammed a massive fist against his platform. Enough delays. He roared, his voice echoing through the chamber. Someone must answer for these attacks. Emily waited patiently, letting the chaos unfold around her. When the moderator finally called for order, she stepped forward, drawing every eye in the room. Her voice was steady as she addressed the assembly. Before we point fingers, she began, we must understand the truth. These attacks cannot go unanswered, but neither can false accusations tear us apart. Her words silenced the room momentarily, though murmurs quickly returned. Some delegates nodded approvingly, while others exchanged skeptical glances. Emily pressed on, knowing she had to seize the moment. "We have evidence suggesting these attacks originated near Earth's solar system," she continued, "and the energy signatures match weapons used by multiple Council fleets." A ripple of shock spread through the chamber. Several ambassadors shifted uncomfortably, avoiding eye contact. The Valen representative, Lurka, tilted its shimmering form slightly, as if studying her reaction. The Krith clicked their mandibles nervously, their antennae twitching. Then came the bombshell. Emily looked directly at the Coraxian ambassador and said firmly, "You attacked our home." Gasps erupted throughout the chamber. Delegates leaned forward, whispering furiously among themselves. The Coraxian ambassador stiffened, his armored frame radiating fury. "This is an outrage," he bellowed. "How dare you accuse us without proof?" Emily held her ground, her voice unwavering. "I am not accusing anyone specifically, but the evidence points to factions within this council, or those acting under your banners, who sought to destabilize Earth. Whether intentional or not, innocent lives were lost. My people deserve answers." Her statement sent shockwaves through the room. Some delegates appeared defensive, while others seemed genuinely troubled. Even Lurka's fluid form flickered slightly, betraying unease. Emily knew she had struck a nerve. Commander Ryan Hayes stood nearby, his presence a quiet reassurance. He scanned the room, his sharp eyes noting every reaction. Though he didn't speak, his stance conveyed readiness, prepared to defend Emily if tensions escalated further. The Coraxian ambassador wasn't finished. "Do not mistake boldness for strength," he growled. "Your kind is reckless, untested. You bring chaos wherever you go." Emily met his glare calmly. "If humanity brings chaos, it is because we refuse to ignore injustice. We will not sit idly while others decide our fate." Her words resonated with some members of the council. A soft-spoken Nerian delegate raised a glowing hand, signaling for attention. "Perhaps we should consider her perspective," the Nerian said gently. "If there are rogue elements among us, we must address them together. Division will only weaken us further." Others began to nod in agreement. Slowly, the tide of hostility started to shift. Emily's courage had sparked a glimmer of unity, a fragile hope that cooperation might still prevail. As the session drew to a close, Emily felt a mix of relief and resolve. She hadn't solved everything, but she had planted a seed. The road ahead would be difficult, but for the first time, she saw cracks in the wall of mistrust. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival, it was fighting for respect. And Emily Carter intended to win. After the heated session in the council chamber, Emily Carter knew she couldn't stop there. The truth about the attacks was still buried beneath layers of secrets, and humanity's place in the galaxy depended on uncovering it. With Commander Ryan Hayes by her side, she decided to dig deeper into the council's archives. If the answers were hidden anywhere, they would be there. Kale, the Nerian historian who had offered his help earlier, joined them in their search. His knowledge of the council's history proved invaluable. The archives hold records of past experiments, Kale explained as they navigated through glowing corridors filled with ancient data crystals. But accessing them will not be easy. Some files are restricted, sealed away to protect those involved. Emily nodded, determination burning in her eyes. "We don't have a choice. If we want to clear Earth's name and find out who's responsible, we need to see what's being hidden." Together, they worked tirelessly, piecing together fragments of information. The archives revealed troubling details about secret tests conducted near Earth decades ago. Scientists from several council species had been experimenting with quantum weaponry, weapons capable of immense destruction, but also highly unstable. The project had been abandoned after multiple failures, leaving behind dangerous remnants that could still cause harm. As they sifted through the data, Ryan noticed something unusual. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a series of coordinates. These locations match some of the attack sites Lurka showed us. Emily's stomach tightened. It was starting to make sense. The rogue factions within the Council hadn't just feared humanity's rise. They had acted on those fears, using leftover technology from the failed experiments to send a warning. But instead of achieving their goal, they had caused chaos that spiraled out of control. Meanwhile, Ryan received intel from the same rogue faction within the Council's security forces that had leaked the classified files earlier. Late one evening, he met with a shadowy figure in a dimly lit corner of the station. The informant, a small bird-like aven with sharp eyes, handed him a data chip. "This is everything you need," the aven whispered urgently. Some council members wanted to weaken Earth before it became too powerful. They thought they could scare you into submission. But things went wrong. Back in their quarters, Emily and Ryan reviewed the new information. The files confirmed their worst suspicions. Certain factions had orchestrated the attacks as a way to destabilize Earth. While they hadn't intended to destroy entire colonies, the unstable weapons they used had caused catastrophic damage. Armed with this evidence, Emily felt a surge of resolve. Humanity wasn't just a victim. It was being framed. She knew what she had to do next. "We'll present this to the Council," she told Ryan firmly. "They can't ignore the truth anymore." Ryan nodded, though his expression remained cautious. "It won't be easy. Some of them will fight back hard. But if we can get enough support, we might have a chance." The next morning, Emily approached Ambassador Lurka privately, sharing the findings. The Valen listened intently, its translucent form shimmering faintly. When Emily finished, Lurka hesitated before speaking. "You are playing a dangerous game," it said softly. "But perhaps it is time for the Council to confront its own darkness." With Lurka's tentative support, Emily prepared to address the Council once again. This time, she wouldn't just ask for answers. She would demand justice. The stakes were higher than ever. But Emily was ready. Humanity's future depended on it, and she wasn't about to let fear stand in her way. The Council chamber was quieter than usual when Emily Carter stepped forward to speak. The previous day's revelations had left many delegates uneasy, and the air was thick with tension. Emily carried a datapad in her hands, its screen glowing faintly with the evidence she and Ryan had uncovered. This was her moment to turn suspicion into understanding, and division into unity. She took a deep breath, her voice steady as she addressed the assembly. "We are all victims here," she began, her words cutting through the silence. These attacks were not random acts of aggression, but the result of fear and mistrust among us. Some factions within this council sought to weaken Earth before it grew too powerful. But their actions spiraled out of control, causing destruction far beyond what anyone intended. Gasps rippled through the chamber as Emily displayed holographic projections of the evidence. Energy signatures matching council weapons, coordinates linking the attacks to abandoned experiments, and leaked files detailing covert operations. Delegates leaned forward, their expressions ranging from shock to guilt. "This is outrageous," bellowed the Coraxian ambassador, slamming his armored fist against his platform. "You accuse us without proof." Emily met his glare calmly. "I am not accusing any one species or faction," she replied. "But the truth is clear. If we continue to blame each other instead of addressing the root of the problem, we will only weaken ourselves further. Together, we must find those responsible and ensure this never happens again." Her words struck a chord with some members of the council. Lurka, the Valen ambassador, shimmered slightly as it floated forward. "She speaks wisely," it said softly. "If we allow fear to divide us, we risk losing everything we have built. Let us investigate these claims thoroughly and hold those accountable who acted outside the Council's laws." Other delegates began to nod in agreement. A Krith representative clicked its mandibles thoughtfully, while a group of Aven murmured amongst themselves before offering cautious support. Even the Coraxians, though still visibly angry, seemed less combative than before. Commander Ryan Hayes stood nearby, watching the shift in dynamics. He exchanged a glance with Emily, silently acknowledging that they had made progress. But the battle wasn't over yet. Unity would take time, and old wounds wouldn't heal easily. As the session continued, fragile alliances began to form. Lurka proposed creating a joint task force to investigate the rogue elements responsible for the attacks. Several species agreed to contribute resources and personnel, including advanced scanning technology and skilled operatives. Humanity, despite being new to the galactic stage, was invited to participate, a sign that trust was slowly being earned. Emily accepted the offer graciously, knowing it was an opportunity to prove Earth's value. "We will work alongside you," she said firmly, "not just to uncover the truth but to strengthen our bonds as allies. Together, we can prevent further tragedy." By the end of the meeting, plans were underway to secure vulnerable systems, including Earth, against future threats. Military exercises involving multiple species were scheduled to foster cooperation and build mutual respect. It was a small step, but it marked the beginning of something greater. Later that evening, Emily stood by a viewport, gazing at the stars. Ryan joined her, his usual stern expression softened by a hint of pride. "You did good today," he said quietly. "Not everyone would have handled it the way you did." Emily smiled faintly, though her mind was still heavy with responsibility. "It's not over yet," she replied. "But for the first time, I feel like we're moving in the right direction." The road ahead would be long and uncertain, but humanity had taken its first real steps toward becoming part of the galactic community, and Emily knew that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, with courage, determination, and hope. Months had passed since the crisis in the Galactic Council, and the galaxy was beginning to heal. The Joint Task Force, led by representatives from several species, including humanity, had uncovered the rogue factions responsible for the attacks near Earth's solar system. Some were high-ranking officials who had acted out of fear, while others were shadowy groups operating outside their government's control. Arrests were made, weapons caches were dismantled, and safeguards were put in place to prevent such chaos from happening again. Emily Carter stood on the observation deck of the starship *EOS*, gazing out at the stars as the ship prepared to leave the council station and return home. She felt a mix of pride and relief. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through force or aggression, but through courage and diplomacy. Her words in the council chamber had sparked change, and now Earth was seen not as a reckless newcomer, but as a voice of reason and resilience. Commander Ryan Hayes joined her, leaning against the railing. "It's been a long journey," he said, his tone lighter than usual. "But we did it." Emily nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "We couldn't have done it alone. It took everyone working together, species that didn't even trust each other, to make this happen." The alliance they had forged during the investigation was fragile, but it was a start. Delegates who had once whispered insults about humanity now greeted Emily with respect. Lurka, the Valen ambassador, had become a trusted ally, often consulting her on matters involving peacekeeping efforts. Even the Coraxians, though still wary, had softened their stance, acknowledging Earth's role in stabilizing the region. As the *EOS* departed the council station, Emily thought about the challenges ahead. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and dangers alike. There would be more disputes, more threats to face, but humanity was no longer alone. They had allies now, friends who shared their vision of unity and progress. Back on Earth, the news of the Council's resolution brought hope to billions. Emily's name became synonymous with bravery and determination, inspiring a new generation of diplomats and explorers. Schools taught stories of how she had stood up to the most powerful species in the galaxy, demanding justice and earning respect. Meanwhile, Ryan oversaw joint military exercises designed to strengthen cooperation between Earth's forces and those of other species. Pilots trained alongside Krith aviators, soldiers worked with Coraxian warriors, and engineers collaborated with Nerian scientists. These exchanges fostered understanding and trust, bridging cultural gaps that had once seemed insurmountable. For Emily, the experience had been transformative. She had started as a young diplomat unsure of her place in the universe, but she returned to Earth as a leader who had proven herself capable of navigating the complexities of galactic politics. Yet she knew there was still much to learn. The stars held countless mysteries, and humanity's journey was only beginning. On the final night of their voyage, Emily stood alone on the observation deck, watching as Earth grew larger in the distance. Its blue oceans and swirling clouds filled her with a sense of belonging she hadn't felt in months. She thought about all they had accomplished, the alliances formed, the lives saved, the future secured, and allowed herself a moment of quiet gratitude. But even as she savored the victory, she reminded herself that peace was never guaranteed. Somewhere in the depths of space, new challenges awaited. The faint hum of quantum engines served as a reminder. The universe was unpredictable, and its mysteries were far from solved. For now, though, humanity could look to the stars with hope. They had taken their first steps into the galactic community, standing shoulder to shoulder with ancient civilizations. Together, they faced an uncertain future, but one filled with promise. And Emily Carter knew she would be ready for whatever came next.